Thank you for listening to WJ Talk, the Waterways Journal place for conversations that move the marine and waterways industry forward. Today you'll hear from Dave Murray, Senior Editor for the Waterways Journal, along with Will Watson, Marine Project Director at Caterpillar. The sponsor of this month's interviews is Laborde Products. Laborde Products stands at the forefront of marine engine distribution, committed to delivering excellence as your trusted partner in marine propulsion, featuring top brands like Mitsubishi, Steer Motors, Yanmar, and Scania Marine. Once again, thanks for listening.
We are privileged to have with us today Mr. Will Watson, the Marine Product Director for Caterpillar, who is going to talk to us about the introduction and spread of hybrid engines in the marine division among towboats and tugboats. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Hey, it's great to be with you today.
And just as a general background, what do you see happening in the marine sphere with hybrid engines? Is the adoption happening slowly? Where do you see that going in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I'd say generally, right, the last decade or so, there's been a lot of investment, research, and some early installations done around hybridization. And hybridization is adopting at different paces across the marine industry, but generally it's working methodically, I'd say, in the adoption world through the marine industry. Again, when it comes to the goals that people have in mind of trying to go after, whether they're going after the TCO area, or if they're looking for just other types of operational advantages, then hybrid starts to open the door into an option for technology going forward. So, it's working its way through, but there's a small population out there, but we do see the outlook as we go forward. That it will pick up.
Is there a type of marine vessel that has been more enthusiastic than others? Is it push boats? Is it offshore tugs? Is it vessels that serve oil rigs?
Yeah, I'd say the adoption more on the hybridization side that we've seen is really around the tug space. So, operations that have the ability to be close to shore, but they also have the ability to have the need for different power needs, and an opportunity to where they work hard and they may idle for a while. So it's a unique characteristic that appears to be adopting this at a higher rate than something that maybe looking at more of a constant load over time. I mean, those have a different, I'd say, outlook and payback for some of the technology that's out there.
Tugboats, as we know, you need power surges when they're handling ships.
Correct.
And so, what about the performance aspects of hybrid boats? It sounds like they're proving themselves in these contexts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, conventional power obviously is the benchmark. It's been well proven out for a long time now, and so a lot of operators are they're not going to move to something that has an operational disadvantage over a conventional system. So it needs to perform, and there's been a lot of trials and proving that particular technology out, but the technology is getting to a point now where it's robust enough, and it meets the high demands that the customers have or the operators have in this space, and so therefore you're starting to see a little bit more of that adoption as we move forward.
So how many hybrid engine products does CAT offer for marine operators? Different sizes, different power characteristics?
Yeah, we're starting. We're starting in the tug space. We're starting with probably the medium range of bollard pull type tugs, And so systems, we're looking at systems that match up with our 3500 series engine products, and our C32 engine products. So, generally you're looking at a tug that's has about 5,000 horsepower, or somewhere in that range, and slightly smaller. So, generally they're pulling, let's say maybe a 70 ton or 80 ton bollard pull type vessel. So, I mean, that's generally where we're focused, and we're starting in that space.
So it sounds like you're tailoring these hybrid engines to meet the performance specifications of a particular existing classes of engines. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Because I think hybrid sounds good, right? I mean, I think people always have to say, hey, I think I want a hybrid system, and then we get into a conversation. It's like, well, do you really? Because let's have a conversation around, how you operate and how you actually use the power on board. And so what we found out is that you will not necessarily get a payback on a hybrid system if your hybrid system isn't really designed and more tailored towards your operational profile. So, just putting a hybrid into your operation doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the benefits from it. So, there's been a lot of work in that space to make sure that you are giving the customer or the operator some benefit for that technology.
Well, now that you brought that up, Will, everybody assumes that if you switch out for a hybrid, you're going to have reduced emissions, and that's the assumption. Is that always the case if you're not using it tailored correctly to your situation?
That is not always the case, right? So, because systems are designed or have different design criterias, and depending upon how you're actually operating, right, you could be running in a mode where you're getting little to zero benefit from a hybrid system. So a lot of work we do with our customer base and the operators out there is to really understand where they do operate. We also understand what is the benefit that they actually are going after, right? Do they want operational costs benefits? Do they want emissions benefits? Benefits as well too. So, knowing that kind of helps understand how you need to set up the system. But just to answer your question, no. I mean, just because you put a hybrid in doesn't mean you're going to get some emissions benefits.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I think a lot of people might be surprised to hear that answer. It's not a magic emissions bullet necessarily.
It is definitely not.
But on the other hand, there could be other benefits besides emissions to using a hybrid system. Are the hybrid components, do they have less wear than the conventional components?
Yeah, absolutely. So some other side benefits you're going to get is if you're using your hybrid system, let's say you're taking advantage of the hybrid in low load operations, for example. Most of the time, high speed engines are not designed and built to really run a long time on low speed or low power operations, right? That's not what the engine's really designed for. The engine's designed to run at an optimal power range, usually at about 70% load. So by running your hybrid system and not running your engine at some of these lower loads, you're going to get the benefit from just wear and tear and life in your engines. So you're going to extend, and that's part of that payback of that initial investment into your hybrid system is, okay, how then can I extend the life of the other components, such as the combustion engines on board. So definitely some advantages then, in addition to just say emissions, silver bullet, like you mentioned, right? So
it's going to extend the engine life of your conventional engine component as well as the hybrid parts lasting longer because they have fewer moving parts, right?
Yeah, and I mean, our goal is to get when a hybrid system, your goal is to have your engine start to run at a more optimal load, and in a situation where the engine really wants to run, and the engine is going to have the best fuel consumption at those spaces. So you're gonna, as you're running these optimal spaces, you can, and then also reduce your fuel consumption.
So I know they're new and we may not have all the data to measure this, but do we have an estimated design life for these hybrid engines versus a conventional engine of the similar class, or are we still working that out?
Yeah, definitely still working it out because it is unique, per vessel, right? So just because you do one study on one particular setup, that doesn't mean that it carries forward to the next setup. So I would say we're still in the infancy of, that data collection and really trying to truly understand the benefits there. I mean, I can say if you tailor the system and match the hybrid system up to the operation correctly, there is benefits there. But how to carry that forward and broadly kind of make some broad statements. I think we're still early in that part.
So owning and operating these engines is ongoing with Caterpillar or whoever is the provider, because you're collecting the data, the companies are reporting back to you, and there's some effort involved together to help establish benchmarks then, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a collaboration, like you mentioned. I mean, I think, we want to help our customers succeed and understand their goals and their challenges, and then what solution and what offerings then can we provide them in order to achieve that goal. And so, it's that two-way conversation. It's a two-way kind of data sharing to ultimately, what we're trying to do is help them be successful. And yeah, I mean, it's that collaboration is going to make it that way.
And how are shoreside facilities developing to serve these types of engines?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question because that is a key factor in some of this adoption of whether it's hybridization or full electric. Is the port and shoreside infrastructure. So as you think about it, as we're some of these hybrid systems, you might need some charging systems along the shore, and there's a huge demand on power needs, not just at the shoreline, right, but everywhere in the world. So that definitely plays in. I mean, there's certainly areas, I'd say there's pockets around the globe and pockets around the US that are have a specific focus on making sure that the infrastructure is in place, whether it's in a port or along different shores. So there's definitely some examples of some areas that are hyper focused on bringing that infrastructure there. But there's other areas that it's still probably a little ways away, and those are part of those discussions you're going to have with operators and customers out there is, where are you going to operate? Because, depending upon where you operate, let's tailor maybe that technology for that, just knowing what the infrastructure is going to look like. And then if you think you're going to move from one geographical place to another, make sure you've got some flexibility built into your designs as well too.
Have those shoreside facilities been a part of recent grants for port development? Are ports aware of the need to do that, to include those in there?
Yes, they certainly have. So certainly on the west coast of the U.S. or around the Gulf area as well too. There's some good examples of some grant and some I'd say more governmental type of incentives and money being put into that infrastructure. But yeah, definitely we're talking with different operators and different ports and shoreside areas that are working with grant money and other things to kind of make sure that they kind of set up that infrastructure and understand what they need to be successful.
So is the upfront investment for one of these engines, I mean, do you have a range of if it's a little bit more expensive than a conventional engine or less expensive, and how long it takes to amortize that extra expense? I mean, just a range, 10%, 20%, or are we still working all that out too?
Yeah, we are still working it out because there's a couple different things you can do, right? I mean, you can have your conventional engine set up, and then you can add hybridization to it, or you can downsize your conventional and add the hybrid system to it. So if if you don't want to have if you want to look for a potential savings, I'd say on the capex side, right? It's like, okay, well, I used to have this size engine. Now I'm going to go to the smaller engine. So now that smaller engine is going to have, a smaller cost. And now I'm going to add that hybrid system in. So maybe it's, fairly close in some pricing, or you say, hey, I'm just going to add the hybrid system onto my existing power plant, and you can have, an estimated adder. So we're still, working it out because it's very specific to really what the customers are looking for.
We're still in the custom age.
We are still in the custom age. That is for sure. There is not, you can't just, go to a price list and say, hey, I want that. And, we're getting there. I mean, over time, we'll get there, just like we have in kind of the conventional world, where you can have something that's a little bit more standard, I would say, in production. But for right now, it's still pretty tailored.
Of course, the transition from coal to diesel took many, many years on the rivers. That was the last change of this magnitude, I think. And it took, what was it, like 20 years or more and longer?
Yeah. So we went from wood to steel. I mean, so it took a while too, right? So I mean, yeah, these changes, don't happen overnight. But at the same time, I mean, we are seeing the adoption of technology, happen faster than we have in the past history, right? So, I think as operators, they're really trying to evaluate, what steps do I actually take? Because there's some micro steps you can take along the way, right? You can adjust the fuel that you're burning, and get some advantages there before you take I'd say a larger step to a hybrid, type system as well too. So, having that conversation with operators on, that transition and, what steps that they want to take along the journey, and is what we do on a daily basis.
Of course, conventional engines are getting more and more efficient all the time too, thanks to those micro improvements. So you're
Absolutely. The combustion engine is not going to go away anytime soon.
No.
It's definitely has some life left in it. It has some efficiency gains to be had. So it's definitely going to be a piece of the overall system for quite some time.
So it sounds like hybridization is a tool or a component that can be added, that offers a lot of benefits. Not all obvious ones. Maybe performance benefits in there too.
Correct.
And so, how do you see it proceeding on the inland space? Is it just that the adoption timeline is a bit different for inland towboats than it is for tugboats?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say the inland, towboats, especially being on freshwater, right? I mean, those assets are the ones that probably are the longest lasting assets, I would say, in the overall marine industry. So, you've got plenty of vessels that are, greater than 40 years old, right? So, I mean, they've been, they're around, quite a long time. And the waterways are definitely, they have their own, financial model of, operational costs and things like that. So that plays a factor into the move to different technologies and making sure that you have that payback period time, right? So I think as we look at the various, new technologies, as the technology matures and those costs mature, right, then it becomes, a little bit more probably financially advantaged to the inland waterways for sure. But like I said, subsegment of the marine industry has different goals and different, financial operational profiles and things like that. And but definitely, I mean, on the waterways, I mean, it will present some advantages for sure, operational advantages. But I'd see it slowly progressing and slowly adopting over time.
Are there federal grant programs that assist operators in making this transition from the Department of Energy or MARAD or agencies like that?
There are different grants that are available, either at a federal level or a state level, that are out there. There are, so I know we talk with various customers that are taking advantage of various grants and either making some uh, micro improvements to their conventional engine room, or moving towards elements of electrification and adding hybrid into the vessel as well too. So there's definitely, so I do encourage people to really pay attention and work to understand what's available to them that's out there. So there's definitely grant money and so forth and incentives that are available.
Well, Will, this has been very informative. Are there any questions I haven't asked yet that I should be asking about this transition and Caterpillar's role in it?
I mean, I think just you hit on it, and I mentioned it too, right? I mean, obviously, hybrid isn't a silver bullet that's going to solve all the problems. I mean, I think it is a tool in the toolbox, for our customers, and I think as we talk about different improvements you can have to a conventional system, and then you can work your way all the way up to even a full electric system. I think basically, Caterpillar's, what we're working on is being able to have that full suite of technology. So everything from your traditional combustion engine all the way up to a full electric, and then having a battery powered vessel. So, and everything in between. So I think we're preparing ourselves to be in position to kind of have that full offering. But it comes down to just that one-on-one conversation with the operator and say, hey, well, let's really talk about your goals and your roadmap, and what solutions can we bring to the table to help you achieve those goals. So, I mean, it's an exciting time in this industry, and it's an exciting time at Caterpillar too, because we're able to also then leverage technologies that we have as we serve other industries beyond the marine industry at Caterpillar, and bring some of those technologies into the marine industry and help advance the marine industry as well too.
Sounds like Caterpillar is fully committed to this marine space. About how many competitors do you have for this? And you don't have to name them, just do you have a number, a range?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's quite a few. I mean, there's quite a few, competitors around the globe, right? I mean, I think certainly here in the U.S., I mean, there's a dozen or so, traditional competitors and traditional players in this space. As you move into hybridization and electrification, you're going to have additional people come into the industry that haven't been in there for a while, but they have that technology. They're just maybe not as well known, I'd say, in the marine industry. So you've got new competitors coming in, and then you multiply that exponentially as you go global and look at the other regions. Obviously the Europe, Middle East region, and Asia Pacific region, right? There's quite a long list, I'd say, of competitors that we're watching, and I'm sure watching us on a daily basis.
So are we learning from efforts overseas that may be a little more advanced than what we're doing?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, being a global business, the marine industry, has it does operate and function, I'd say, a little bit differently in different regions, and different regions have a different pace of some technology. So, we look to a lot what's going on in Europe. I mean, there are, pushing, I'd say, some of the technology and from a decarbonization perspective and from an efficiency perspective. So you look at what's happening over there, you pay attention there. Obviously, Asia Pacific region is just a massive area. So there's a lot of competitors, a lot of manufacturers, obviously, from China and the rest of the region there. So yeah, I mean, we're learning, and I think with the way the world is just connected today, I mean, it's why you're seeing this pace of technology and change, not only in the marine industry, but just in everything, just move at a rate that has never been seen before.
Well, it does sound like a very exciting time and industry to be in, Will, and I think we've covered everything unless you have some more topics to discuss.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, yeah, I'm good. I mean, I can chat all day about what we're doing here, but yeah, no, I think, I think that kind of covers the highlights of what's happening.
Thank you for listening to WJ Talk, the Waterways Journal place for conversations that move the marine and waterways industry forward. Today, you'll hear from Dave Murray, staff writer for the Waterways Journal, along with Will Watson, Marine Project Director at Caterpillar. The sponsor of this month's interviews is Laborde Products. Laborde Products stands at the forefront of marine engine distribution, committed to delivering excellence as your trusted partner in marine propulsion, featuring top brands like Mitsubishi, Steer Motors, Yanmar, and Scania Marine. Once again, thanks for listening.